Right, Super Micro, Kevin, back at you here, continuing our podcast on single node deployment for an SCC appliance. So we've successfully instantiated our VM. You can see basically here it's running and right alongside of our HA node, which is basically hosted on this CentOS hypervisor. I noticed I a little hasty here in regards to the name here. It defaults to Ubuntu 2204. I should have basically called it the SCC appliance single node. So let's go ahead and fix that first, how you would fix that. So first thing you need to do is we need to basically pause or shut down this system. So let's do a force off here of this VM. And then we want to go into the open here of this VM and basically give it a name. So we click on the little light bulb symbol here and we give it its name, SCC-appliance dash single node. And then while we're in here, let's just look around, right? So we have right here, let's save the changes first and apply it. So you see here it's changed now to SCC appliance single node on our QEM KVM. You also see here we've created one interface connected to the one bridge. There's no bridge one that's connected, right, at all within this configuration because there's no requirement for bridge one. We've taken out the dependency of that second NIC on this VM for support. And whatever microservice OS deployment that serves your purpose within your data center. So after that, let's go ahead and turn on the VM back on. So we can simply come up here and then issue the command run. And at that point, it will start the VM. And if you wanted, we can get into the console here and basically see it actually start up. It doesn't take very long for the VM to start up. So typically on a bare metal type of host, it would take some time to be able to start up on a virtual machine that's relatively quickly. You notice it's trying to search for a network to pull down software dependencies that exist on the network. We haven't created a network yet or defined an IP address. We're going to basically do that in our deployment here. So let's do a couple of housekeeping things here first while we're starting that VM to start. And I'm going to be a little lazy here and move this to the side here. And because it's in the same subnet, and my lab manager has given me an IP address. Ooh, a little bit of a slow kind of response here coming across my ISP. So let's open up this guy, the console here, and log in to root. So we'll log in as root. And let's navigate to the folder where the IP address or where we actually configure net plan. So we'll cd off to etc net plan and we'll type an ls command. You can see here that some of our YAML files have already been created. So let's simply cat out the OS installer config file and use that as a baseline to configure our new created single node host within the environment here. So this is just continuing to give it a few more seconds here to come up. And we're configured for SCC appliance single node instantiated. So let's log in. So we used culp K as the account. And we're going to use our password there to log into that single node instance. And then if you do an IP address command show, you'll see here that the first particular NIC is up and operational, and it doesn't basically show a second NIC from the configuration because we didn't connect that virtual NIC to that second bridge because there's no bridge that exists. We don't require it because we're deploying with one NIC architecture. So let's log in. Let's first of all set our sudo to su for privileged user. And let's do that. And let's navigate over to the NetPlan folder and use Nano. You can use VI if you wanted. We're going to use Nano here. And log in, or basically open up that file, and let's start configuring this environment. So first thing we want to do here is create our ENP1S0, and we want to change that to DHCP to be false because we want to give it a manual IP address, and then we're going to tab over. Incidentally, you have to make sure that these are lined up. Otherwise, when you execute the NetPlan to start the interface, it'll blow up and give you all kinds of errors. So there is column sensitivity here when you set up this information or IP address within this file. So we're going to plug in 172.24.199 and we're going to use 116 with a 27-bit subnet. And then we're going to put in the routes command to set our gateway of last resort here. Sometimes people call it the all balls route. And we're going to hit the dash and the 2. And we're going to specify 0.0.0.0/0 via the gateway here of 172.24.199.126. And we'll put a name server information in here as well. Make sure it's, again, lined up with your columns there. I'm getting old in my age, and sometimes it's difficult to see the screen here. Make sure they're lined up. So let's see. 8.8.8. And the version 2 command. So let's just double check our work here to make sure that we have things configured correctly here. So let's see. We're going to use DHCP to be false. Now let's just make sure we have the right interface there. So let's save it and then go back out and just verify we got the right NIC that we've defined here. So it indeed is ENP1S0. So let's cat out the command here again and make sure, cat out the file and make sure we've got things correct here. So let's see. So we want to do EP1S0 as the interface of the first LAN 0 NIC or VM NIC. We set to false for a DHCP address. We want to give it a 172.24.190.116/27. Issue the routes command, the 2, okay, that looks good via, and then the default gateway. Name servers, we got set an address. I think we're good. So now we can issue the command net plan/apply. And see, I messed up, right? Because again, I did not purposely make sure that the columns were lined up. So let's go back here and make sure those columns are lined up. And let's see here. So we have, why is it failing? So we've got the Ethernet set up, the DHCP of false, addresses are set up. We've got the third D for the dash of 172, routes command, the 2 is set up, via set up, name servers needs to be under routes, and we have addresses in version 2. And why was it complaining? Let's see here. It's complaining about addresses, and I spelled addresses wrong. That is the problem. Okay, so sometimes my eyesight is not very good here, so we need a double S in addresses here. So let's do that, put that in there, and then save it, and then run the net apply again. And lo and behold, it basically successfully applies the IP address. So let's look at it now with an IP address show. IP address show. And it's got the right address. And let's see if we can ping out to the gateway, right? Or our DNS. Let's see if we can ping Google. And we can ping Google. So that means we're getting out to the internet. So what's next? Then we can do an app get update and go out and communicate with the mirrors out there on the internet. And what's next? Then we're going to upgrade this host to the latest. So let's just wait till it finishes fetching the package lists. And now we can issue the command app get upgrade. And at this point, it's going to load a lot of particular software dependencies. We're going to issue the command yes at that point. So my recommendation to you is when you do the app upgrade, you probably want to not put a yes switch in there. Let it prompt you to just be on the safe side to you make sure that you're doing the right thing here with some of the commands. You could, of course, have not have to be prompted if you're a Linux administrator that's been seasoned doing a lot of this all the time. It's probably okay to do that, but I like to just be on the safe side. And you can see here it's going out and it's doing and pulling down a whole bunch of software dependencies and upgrading this environment to be the latest kernel version that exists out on the internet. So we'll let this execute in the background. It's going to take some time to go out there and pull down all the appropriate software dependencies. And thanks for joining today. We'll see you next time on the other side. Have a great day.